Shine bright to you who's about to die. Shine bright to those who refuse to die. Shine even when it's the last time to do so. For this is an ode to the undying Ember. Welcome to another lore video. Today, we're going to speak about the winner of the 2002 Takarazuka Kinen, Dantsu Flame. I'm sure that a lot of you have stumbled upon this horse for the first time while watching Umamusume beginning of a new era. That would be the same for me. At first glance, I thought that she would be a character with tons of screen time. However, I was kind of disappointed by the low screen time that she had. And it is understandable, considering her real-life counterpart's career that paled in comparison to Jungle Pocket, Agnes Tachyon, and Manhattan Cafe. Now before we move on to the main video, I have to tell you that I'm trying to make this video about the tenacity shown by the horse, and not the drama pertaining to the last moments of Dantsu Flame. Because at the end of the day, we do not know what truly happened to him. Without further ado, let's hop onto the story of a horse who shine among the sea of bees. Dantsu Flame was foaled on the 19th of April 1998 in a farm called the Nobuoka Farm. During his first year before being sold at an auction, he was said to be not fitting the ideal image of the thoroughbred horse. Then in August of 1999, he was placed in a horse auction in Hokkaido and was won by Tetsuji Yamamoto for 25 million yen or around 160 grand in 2025. As his pedigree was quite the prestigious one. After being sold off at the auction, he was given the name of Dantsu Flame. The crown name Dantsu is actually taken from a type of carpet that is hand-woven. It was said that the name was used by Yamamoto because he purchased Dantsu carpet on his first day as the horse owner. And Flame, well, flame as in fire. I can't seem to find a specific reason for the word flame, but I do believe that it was meant as a hope that this horse will run with a bright career. Shortly after, he was brought in to trainer Kenji Yamauchi in the Rito Training Center. Kenji Yamauchi was quite the veteran himself as he was a jockey from 1974 till 1987, where he retired as a jockey and became a horse trainer instead. But curiously, he started his career in 1989. Before taking care of Dantsu Flame, Yamauchi trained a fellow Dantsu horse called Dantsu Ciel, who won the Takarazuka Kinen back in 1995, also the day when the unfortunate incident involving rice shower happened. Dantsu Flame's pedigree was quite the interesting one, as we can see Brian's time as the father. This horse was a really popular sire in Japan as he was well known to sire Narita Brian, Mayano Top Gun, and Tenino Gimlet, to name a few. Not only that, he won 2 G1s and 1 G2 back in the United States. Some of Dantsu's Flame sire line was also stacked with other multiple graded race winners such as Roberto, who won 4 G1s and 2 G3s. Then we can find Hail to Reason, who won multiple stakes race and making record time in the 1960 Hopeful Stakes. Moving on to the dam side of things, it was something that could be considered as ordinary when compared to Brian's time pedigree. Dantsu Flame's mother was Inter Pyrenees, despite the fact that she joined several graded races, including the 1993 Okasho. When Vega won, she never actually won any of them. Across her career of 21 starts, she only won 4 of them. Then we can see San Quirico, who won 2 G3s and 1 G2 in 1987. Leafior with a single G3 win in France. I'm not saying that the horse on the dam side is weak or anything, but we can only see horses with similar achievements to Brian's time's pedigree after 4 generations above the like of Leafard and Never Say Die. However, as usual, pedigree does not guarantee the making of a champion. Though, it could be a factor in determining the eligibility of future breeding prospects. During his early training years, Dantsu Flame developed periostitis. It is a word that comes from Greek peri, means around, and os from osteon, meaning bone. And the itis part will directly translates to inflammation. So it's a condition where the membrane surrounding the bone, or in this case, it was specifically the cannon bone of the horse. It's usually caused by training. When horses run around, they are putting stress on their lower thigh region, called the cannon bone. When the training was done excessively, or when the surface was too hard, the periostitis could happen. In Dantsu Flame's case, it seems to be the latter, and compounded by the fact that he was still growing as a 1-year-old horse. Thankfully, he managed to fully recover and grow well in this time frame. As his training continued, his body kept improving and were able to handle the stresses put on his body. The training went well and he started his debut on the 10th of June year 2000 as a 2-year-old horse on the 1000 meter dirt track, which he lost by placing second with a gap of 4 lengths. Based on this data, Dantsu Flame was actually in a great form as he managed to be at the second place while staying 5th at the first half of the race. Also, he was the type to be able to keep a sustained speed and overtook most of his opponents. Then he started his main race on the 1st of July in the same year and track. Based on this data, it seemed like Dantsu Flame had a better start, but he quite struggled to be in the lead. However, true to his ability, he managed to sustain his speed and winning by a half length. Before the end of year 2000, he raced in 2 open class races, namely the Kikyo Stakes and the Nojigiku Stakes, which he won. In both races, the jockeys knew how to capitalize on Dantsu Flame's speed, as can be seen here. He had the fastest last 3 furlongs among the pool of racers. Both races went on like usual. Stay at the middle, look for an opening, and start the spurt at the last stretch. His performance at the Kikyo Stakes even received a high praise from his jockey, Yutaka Take, considerably the greatest jockey in Japan, saying that Dantsu Flame was a horse with a lot of talent, which marked the end of Dantsu Flame's junior year. To start off 2001, the team decided to kick it off with the Kisaragi show on the 11th of February. In this race, Yutaka Take got paired with Dantsu Flame again. Even though he placed second in this race, that day truly showed us what beast Dantsu Flame has yet to unleash. As per usual, Dantsu Flame was chilling at the 8th place and moved up the rank at the downhill around the 1100 meter mark and placed 6th by the 3rd corner. He kept speeding up till he reached the 2nd place at the 4th corner. It was truly a magnificent acceleration, as if he had a jet engine strapped on his back, burning fuel at full throttle, and victory seemed as certain as the rising sun of tomorrow. However, Agnes Gold, who was the favorite of that day, managed to steal the victory from Dantsu Flame now by a mere half length. It was a race that even Yutaka Take lamented as per his comment after the race. He stated that Dantsu Flame went a bit too fast in the last corners for his liking, due to the fact that another horse called Big Gold was putting quite the pressure on them. After such a bright show of force, one might wonder what would be the next step in his career: the NHK Mile Cup, the Japanese Derby, or perhaps the entirety of the classics. Presented with quite the paralysis of choices, it proved to be a conundrum for the team, considering that Agnes Gold and Agnes Tachyon were entering the trial races for the Satsuki show. 2 weeks later, on the 24th of February, he entered another D3 race called the Arlington Cup. On the surface, it would seem like the team managed to decide for the NHK Mile Cup instead of the classics. Dantsu Flame became the favorite and won it with burning passion. Throughout the race, the frontrunner was a horse called Kitasan Channel, and Dantsu Flame was at the back of the pack. By the last corner, Dantsu Flame placed 7th, and he managed to win by the mere length of his nose against Kitasan Channel. After such a spectacular way to win his first graded race, everyone on the team seemed to be convinced that Dantsu Flame has the potential to challenge the classics. However, at first, the team's goal was actually the Japanese Derby, as they believed that the Nakayama turf was too rough and would have caused unnecessary strain to the horse. However, Yutaganake, who deemed Dantsu Flame in high regard, managed to convince them to enter him to the race. Though such decision would be met with a bit of dissatisfaction relating to Dantsu Flame's physique from the trainer because of the infamous undulation in the Nakayama race course as referenced in the specific scene of Cinderella Grey. The Satsuki Show was raced on the 15th of April, year 2001. Agnes Tachyon, Jungle Pocket, and Dantsu Flame were the top 3 favorites respectively. In this race, Dantsu Flame was positioned at the 14th gate, which meant that not only did he need to score an advantageous position early on, he also was needed to maintain his stamina before the first uphill, which was also a thing to worry about. Dantsu Flame did get a good start, but by the time he reached the first corner, he was blocked early on and was forced to slow down to the 10th place. Though he managed to find his rhythm back and run well for the rest of the race, his positioning made him take a really wide swing at the 4th corner. That condition made him unable to take full advantage of his acceleration, and compounded with the fact that it was Agnes Tachyon directly in front of him, that would make this race a heated battle to take the first leg of the classic. Dantsu Flame showed a good fight, but to Agnes Tachyon, it was but a futile struggle. As bright as a flame burns, its light could not beat a Tachyon that could travel faster than the speed of light. Agnes Tachyon triumphed with a gap of 1.5 length. Though Dantsu Flame had the fastest last 3 furlongs in the race, the Satsuki Show was a proving ground that made clear of what Dantsu Flame was capable of. He won multiple JRA races, including a G3, and was a runner-up in the Satsuki Show, who has only accepted defeat by a horse with a 100% win rate. The Derby would be the next logical step, which was exactly the race that he would enter. On the 27th of May 2001, Dantsu Flame was paired with Hiroshi Kawachi, who used to be Agnes Tachyon's main jockey before his retirement. He was the 3rd favorite with Kurofune as the 2nd and Jungle Pocket as the 1st. The race started and Dantsu Flame showed a good start. His pink mask made him stick out just like some fireflies in the darkest of night. Unlike the Satsuki Show, he was not blocked and managed to cruise just fine at the middle of the pack. Everything was good till the 4th corner, where he must take a wide swing to the outside because Kurofune was directly in front of him. And by the last 2 furlongs, he got blocked by Jungle Pocket, who just did a breakaway at that very same moment. Though he was late to make his spurt, that made him lose the race. Dantsu Flame still matched the last 3 furlongs with Jungle Pocket. A 2nd G1 race with the 2nd place. Dantsu Flame burned with scorching heat, but the heat was not enough to melt the gold that everyone desired for. Before continuing with his career, Dantsu Flame took a break for several months. Now you might wonder why such a long break? Well, to put it simply, a horse also need their summer breaks. Except, well, it's the same thing that we do in the game, which was a summer break disguised as training. It wasn't until September that he entered Kobe Shimbun High, which he lost by placing 4th. Then on the 21st of October, year 2001, he entered the Kikasho and placed 5th. Lastly, on 18th of November of the same year, he finished the Mile Championship at 5th place. Now, before anyone starts throwing the fraud allegations at my baby girl, I must say that this kind of thing is normal. This is not an Umamusume run with the goal of achieving both the Classic and Autumn Triple Crowns in a single career, but an actual sport involving living beings. Your favorite horse girl with millions of Great Traces victory should be considered an anomaly at this point. But just for the sake of being fair here, a few questions thrown at a promising horse at its prime not having as many victories is actually pretty normal in the industry. With all of that aside, let's take a look at the actual number. In Kobe Shimbunai, we can see both Air Eminem and Sunrise Pegasus, who was a 2000 meter specialist and a Hanshin specialist respectively. Both of them didn't take a summer break like our subject for this video. Even though Dantsu Flame did well, it can't be said that he was rusty, since he is not showing the usual performance people were expecting. Then the loss in the Kikasho was a combination of factors. It was a 3000 meter race, which is quite a daunting distance for most racehorses. It was raining slightly, and Dantsu Flame was not an end closer. It can be seen here that Dantsu Flame had the best last 3 furlongs. However, because of his positioning throughout the entire race, he didn't have the chance to catch up to the front. Especially, this was when we saw Manhattan Cafe at his peak. Lastly, the Mile Championship. From this footage, we can see that he performed quite well despite racing against older horses, who were more mature physically and more experienced in mile distances, compounded with the fact that the pace of the race was a bit too fast for his running style. That analysis I did just now will probably sound like an excuse that I made for Dantsu Flame, because it actually is! And in my opinion, Dantsu Flame should have just skipped the Kikasho and went straight to Autumn Tennis Show. The Kikasho was quite unnecessary, and entering the mile championship with a gap of 28 days seemed like more of a gamble rather than a calculated risk. Though I won't say that he would definitely win with ease, because Agnes Digital was the one who won that race, and I do believe it would be a better fighting chance and would spare him the unnecessary strain. After experiencing 3 consecutive defeats, Dantsu Flame was sent for grazing for quite some time as a rest period. He returned to the racing space in spring with the G2 KO High Spring Cup on the 12th of May 2002. Though he lost by placing 4th, it was actually not a bad performance for a comeback race. The jockey, Kenichi Ikezoe, even noted that Dantsu Flame's performance was unlike other horses who just went back from a long rest. And he said that 1600 meters fit him way more rather than a 1400 meter race, making it that this race was more of a warm-up. Not long after, on the 2nd of June 2002, he entered another G1 called the Yasuda Kinen, a more familiar distance to be challenged. He was the number 2 favorite of the day, and he delivered. This was like seeing the early form of Dantsu Flame. Stay at the middle and wait for an opening. By the last 2 furlongs, he was at the 12th position. It was at that moment that he sped up like an orc from the Call of Speed. However, the winner was Admire Kazin. Though it was a loss, it was an admirable one. As can be seen here, Dantsu Flame had the best last 3 furlongs. 3 weeks later, on the 23rd of June 2002, Dantsu Flame entered the Takarazuka Kinen, his first and last G1 victory. The entire field was quite an interesting one, as we can see some familiar horses. First, we can see Air Shakur, then Surumaru Boy, who was the grandson of Sucker Boy, Tokai Teo's son called Tokai Poen, and Tokai Teo's brother called Tokai Oza, and lastly, Active Bio, who had the same sire as TM Opera O and Symboli Rudolph as a dam sire. After seeing this list, you might wonder where was the rest of the JAMD quartet, especially in a Grand Prix where people would be excited to see a Japan Cup winner and a Kikasho winner in the same race. Well, Jungle Pocket was reported to having a bad leg day during training, and Manhunt Cafe was challenging the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, which left only Dantsu Flame. Dantsu Flame was the favorite on this fateful day. The Hanshin racetrack was the first stage for him to win his first major win, and also the stage to show off his biggest achievement. It was the moment where every single struggle that he had and every burning passion he ever delivered would culminate to create a singularity, to create a fusion of energy with a burst of grand spectacle, no matter how short-lived it will be. Looking at the footage of that race for the first time was quite the experience. We were so used to seeing a heated G1 win all the time, but this one was one of the special few, like the 1990 and the 2013 Arima Kinen, or the 2001 Hong Kong phase, where it was not just a horse winning their last race. It was a special kind of victory, which showed the charm of this sport, a creation of a legacy that will be told to the ends of time. And the 2002 Takarazuka Kinen was exactly it. One might argue that the field was weaker than it should be, and Dantsu Flame was lucky to be in that exact scenario where Jungle Pocket was not there to sweep the race. But I do feel the need to state that luck is also an integral part of horse racing, and that race was arguably the best performance that Dantsu Flame ever gave. The gate opened, the horses flew out. Dantsu Flame, with his iconic pink mask, exited perfectly and found his rhythm easily. It looked like the pace would be broken because Lohengrin did a great escape at the first straight and Tokai Point had to be the one to stabilize the overall pack. However, if we actually look at this data, the pace was actually quite standard with exactly 60 seconds for the first 1000 meters, which was a pace that historically did the best for Dantsu Flame. He was really steady throughout the race and not being taken by Air Shakur in front of him. The long straight of Hanshin was truly a boon for Dantsu Flame because he was a natural at cruising the track. Things getting dangerous when it reached the last two corners. Everyone must slow down, hence they were grouped a bit closer to each other. In contrast to early race, when there are some distances, by the last 2 furlongs, the situation seemed bleak. There were 3 horses in front of Dantsu Flame blocking him, including Air Shakur, who started his spurt at that point. Then by the last furlong, we saw Tsurumaru Boy trying to catch up for the lead position. However, as I mentioned before, Dantsu Flame was really steady. With the combination of his jockey's great horsemanship, who was patient enough not to rush his spurt and remembered that this was Dantsu Flame, who I dare say a speed demon at his peak. He kept his speed and didn't let Tsurumaru Boy to take the lead. By the last 100 meters, there we saw his iconic acceleration and reached the second place in no time. By the last 50 meters, he just sped up like a demon using his Hellfire as fuel and won with a gap of a neck, finishing with a time of 2 minutes and 12.9 seconds and the last 3 furlongs of 34.7 seconds. A G1 victory that was long overdue. It was quite a poetic victory since the jockey on that day was Shinji Fujita, who was also the jockey who brought Dantsu Flame's very first victory in the year 2000. On a post-race interview, Shinji Fujita revealed that he specifically requested for Yamauchi's permission to let him ride Dantsu Flame as he believed that he was going to win with Dantsu Flame, and win he did. After this victory, we might believe that it was going to be smooth sailing from that point. However, things went into a downturn. On the 6th of October year 2002, he raced in the G2 race called the Mainichi Okan, finishing 5th while at the same time losing around 18 kilograms of weight. Then on the 27th of October of the same year, even though he physically improved, his performance was quite disappointing as he finished 14th in the Autumn Tennis Show. Lastly, on the 17th of November, he finished the Mile Championship at the 17th place. There is only a single reason I can think of why this has happened. The fatigue caught up. After those consecutive defeats, Dantsu Flame was sent for another rest period, and it was not until April of 2003 when he would step back on the racetrack. He raced in the G2 called the Yomiuri Milers Cup, a race for older horses. He lost by placing 4th in this race, but to be frank, it was quite a good result, especially after around 5 months of rest period. Then on the 4th of May of 2003, he would enter the Spring Tenno Show and place 5th. 2 weeks later, on the 18th of May, he would enter the G3 called the Niigata Daishoten, his last ever major win, and he won with a gap of 1.5 length. Then on the 8th of June 2003, he entered the Yasuda Kinen and placed 5th. It was quite a shocking race since the top 5 of the field broke the record that Oguri Cap made back in the 1990 Yasuda Kinen. Finally, on the 29th of June, he entered the Takarazuka Kinen and lost by placing 7th. There was actually a plan to enter him in the G2 Sankei Show All-Comers. However, he was diagnosed with superficial digital flexor tendonitis during the summer, and that condition would force him to retire. Such injury was actually quite common, since the leg was a part of the horse's body that would receive so much strain considering how it is used, especially when they are a racehorse. Dantsu Flame was transferred to a stable in Hokkaido as he was expected to start his stud duty. And that is the story of This could be a story which ended on a positive note. happily retiring from such a stressful career in a relaxing farm in the countryside. Or so might people thought. However, Dantsu Flame was taken from retirement that he so deserved and made another appearance in the regional racing. It was said that the main reason was Dantsu Flame's lack of popularity as a sire, and during his retirement, he managed to fully recover. On the 20th of October 2004, 16 months after his last race in the JRA, he would enter the Kanazuki Special in the Arao racecourse, and he finished on second place. Then shortly after, he was transferred to the Kazuo Okada stable in the Urawa racecourse. While under his care, he would enter his 3 last races, the Urawa Kinen, where he placed 9, the G1 Tokyo Daishoten, where he placed 14, and lastly, the Kawasaki Kinen, where he placed 11. After such performance, he was then retired again for the second time on June 2005. He was transferred to the NAI Education Center in the Toshigi Prefecture to be a training horse for future jockeys. However, not long after, he was diagnosed with severe pneumonia and died shortly after on the 28th of August 2005. Though the time he spent with the people in the education center was as short as burning candlestick, he was received with warmth given by the never-ending sun. As shown in this archive article, it can be seen that the staff there made a grave for Dantsu Flame, and it still exists until today, and it seems to be open for a visit. And that is the story of the bright, passionate flame of the turf. A flame who showed what it means to burn until only embers was left, as a proof of their existence. It was a story of a horse who should have had a bright and slow future ahead, if not for the disease. And as much as I want to talk about his conditions, at the end of the day, I am just an outsider who was not even an amateur in equine science. In retrospect, Dantsu Flame's career was nothing to be scoffed at. 3 times runner-up in 3 different G1s, winning a highly sought Grand Prix, and winning multiple major races. The drought of victories that happened could be attributed to multiple of factors, but there is one thing for sure: all of this was a spectacle to behold. Now, rather than we wallow in grief or anger, let us all raise our chalice as we welcome the flame in the ranks of immortals. We shall drink to celebrate his hard-fought victories, and he shall be remembered as the undying ember, as his story and legacies will not be forgotten as long as we remember. My name is Frozen, and that is all from me. Cheers! Oh, and here's a secret. That's not my